to all from Sydney. I'm Asha Chand, and I welcome you all to this presentation on how Fiji Indian migrants have created a home away from home in Sydney, Australia. Their identity as a twice displaced community, first from India as indentured laborers, and then from Fiji under a situation of crisis following the military coups since 1987, has been the focus of my research. I have used chutney as a metaphor to describe the hybrid and contemporary generation of the community, which is mobile, creative, fun-loving, and continues to live in dualities, holding on to their notions of homeland Fiji and motherland India. Specifically considering museums as a site for expressing their identity, this presentation will capture the lived experiences of the community in a multicultural setting. It also focuses on memory as a central component of engaging with the past, understanding the present, and building aspirations for the future. I would like to begin with my own memories of Fiji as homeland, where my childhood and adult life is rooted. Those times, which I have begun to write about as a scholar, will be etched in my memory forever. I remember my carefree life as a little girl, having very little in material trappings, but living a fulfilled life. My father was a sugarcane farmer. We lived off the farm, growing all the food we consumed. Our staple food was rice and dal. Chutney added flavor to those usually bland food. I started working as a journalist after finishing high school for the then Fiji Sun, which was shut down at gunpoint during the 1987 coups. I was then living in Suva and had been married for 3 years. I left Fiji in 1998 with my husband and 3 children to settle in Australia as a permanent resident. My last big journalism assignment was covering the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Scotland in 1997. I began my teaching career at Western Sydney University in 1999. When I received a scholarship for my PhD, I could not begin any research through a questionnaire because the community knew about my journalism and there was hesitancy to speak to me about migration, marriage, and the media, which were my topics. This is when the idea of an exhibition was born. I wanted to create an environment where the community could be involved and have ownership of the activities. And the Liverpool Museum, now known as Casula Powerhouse Art Centre, was an obvious choice. When I went to them with my idea, they just loved it and we worked as a team. The Fiji and Indian community shared their prized possessions for the exhibition. I asked women to bring in their bottled chutneys for display. Some of the outcomes included the Sydney Morning Herald, which is a metropolitan daily newspaper in Sydney, voting it the best exhibition. And there was extensive media coverage on the opening as well as on the exhibition itself. The exhibition was visited by thousands of people, including tourists from around the world. A colleague, Dr. Wendy Chandler, won an international award for the animation works and a video narrative on my father's cane knife, which was an exhibition item at an international film festival in France. As a consequence of the exhibition, the Liverpool Council funded a migration heritage project at the museum, and I got to tell the story of the Fijian Indian migration. I also published an academic paper about migration and culture politics in an international journal. In 2019, I created a video narrative for Research Week at my university based on the exhibition. In 2020, a master's student from Goldsmith University in the United Kingdom continued the legacy of the Chutney Generations exhibition with her own exhibition titled Bittersweet and invited me for a Kaise Hey, How Are You? Talanoa as part of her exhibition. And in 2021, here I am, still working on the idea of exhibitions and museums with you all. Later this month, I hope to present the story of chutney at a symposium at the University of Sussex in Britain. By the time I wrote my PhD thesis, titled the Chutney Generation, Fiji Indian migration, matchmaking, and the media in Sydney, Liverpool had become the largest city with Fiji Indians outside of Fiji. I'm now going to share with you a video narrative which, in a nutshell, tells the story of Chutney Generations. Thank you to the organizers of this forum, and my best wishes to everyone who will be presenting over the next few days.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here as an elder in the community of the Aboriginal community, the first Indigenous people of this land. I'm here to say welcome to country.
What a great idea, really, to put on an exhibition like this. It's the first ever exhibition that recognises the major contribution that the Fijian Indian community has made, not just to this community, but to Liverpool and to Australia, I mean. And some of us would believe that Liverpool is just Australia, but it's that's right, Paul. And with this exhibition, where it continues on with where we're producing a publication which is about referencing what is happening here and in a sense a critical analysis of this community, and hopefully for other people to build upon. And I think Asha's when she came to us with this idea, it was really about putting this community on the map and actually allowing for other works to be to contribute to the dialogue that is happening in this community, but also around Australia.
Bringing ideas of journeys with emotional baggage into visual presentation has been a personal and professional challenge for me. When I look at the exhibition space, I'm reminded of the many stories that I have written as a journalist, but this exhibition is the best story I've ever told.
Chutney is often made to be eaten fresh and provides flavor to bland main Indian dishes such as rice and dal. I grew up living on chutney in Fiji. My paternal grandmother, Aji, would whip up chutney using a flat and round stone, seal and loda it was called, to blend the freshly picked ingredients. She was creative, occasionally using peanut or sesame seeds if the harvests were good. Under the shades of our giant mango tree, she would share her latest creations with women from the village. Sometimes I would sit and watch her in sheer amazement as her hands played acrobatics with the stone chutney maker. She sought perfection in her blending and would roll the long, round stone with vigorous energy. Her garland of 7 gold sovereigns hanging from a black cord, her most prized possession, would bounce off her on her tiny chest against the rhythm of her hand movements. "Lo, Chico, here, taste," she would announce out of the blue. I would stretch out my hand with an open palm, and she'd place a small drop from her mountain of chutney into the ocean of my palm. On more occasions than not, her chutneys kicked me off from my squatting position and sent me reeling with a burning pain in my mouth. "Tita, tita, chili hot," I would scream, my own echoes vibrating in the deafness as fire puffed out of my ears, tears in my eyes. Sometimes I would plow my dry, cracked mouth in sugar. Other times, I would dip my mouth in a bowl of water. Sometimes, jumping and screaming helped. Oblivious to my plight, Aji would ask, "Chatak hai?" meaning, does it have enough chili and salt? The stone chutney maker, indeed an icon of many village homes in Fiji, sat majestically outside the kitchen, which was a separate building joining our house, in a waist-high position and kept covered with a big lid from an old cooking pot, a large stone holding down the lid. When I left my mother's home after marriage, Aji brought me a stone chutney maker from the depths of the Ba River in Fiji. I kept it in my new home in Suva City. Its use was few and far between, yet it was a prized possession. Chutneys brought delight to our senses as chocolate and other treats do to a modern-day child. I used chutney as a metaphor to describe the inhabitants of the 21st century globalized world where identities fuse and cultures merge. Pronounced chutney, the word in Hindi means to lick. In the global context, chutney has indeed become a paste of civilization, harnessing strongly felt inclinations to retain histories. Chutney is the neutralizing zone in the fusion of ideas, ideals, identities, histories and dreams. Yet chutney also gives us that glimmer of hope that one day the human race will coexist without borders and boundaries, where the flavors will be the faces and voices only. The Chutney Generation exhibition explored the negotiations, earnings, borrowings, transformations, as well as the new and spicy creations that have blended into Sydney's multicultural stew pot. The exhibition aimed to raise awareness in Australia and the world of the unique blend of Indian, Fijian, and Australian practices that has become a way of life for the diasporic Indian community, which is changing, complex, and contradictory all at the same time. The exhibition thus featured some of the live expressions such as dance, music, film, community celebrations of weddings, daily life of Yangona drinking, to name a few, linking cultural spaces, tendencies and dynamics of the community. It linked cultural research within a broader context for understanding community issues through the arts and social spaces. The rolls of bottled chutney are a creation of Australian Fiji Indian women. Each bottle is unique, for the flavors vary, as do the ingredients. Their names are as diverse: Kama Sutra, Viagra, Morning After, Cool Breeze, Piping Hot, Sparkler, Tearful, Pardes, Devdas, Silsila, Masti, Kabhi Kabhi, Saudagar, Garam Masala, Judai, Mistress of Spice, Bride and Prejudice. These names are creations with a blend of familiar words and names of Bollywood movies. India being referred to as the land of the Kama Sutra adds a new dimension to the imagination with the names the women came up with. Life of Indians in Fiji is not complete without kava. The kava section in the middle of the exhibition hall made a bold statement about every other aspect of the Australian Fiji Indians, which generally revolves around this brew of life. Serving kava to Fijian chiefs and special guests was a practice of the past. Kava is consumed at many Fiji Indian gatherings such as prayer meetings, weddings or death ceremonies with a sense of religious zeal. The tanwa, a large wooden bowl made of dakua wood and used for mixing kava, sits on a tapa cloth, which is Fijian art. In Australia, large mixing bowls have replaced the tanwa, which is now commonly used as a fruit bowl. Like chutney, kava too has evolved and transformed into kava chai and milkshake, to name a few. It has reached all corners of the globe, from the US to China, Japan and Europe, and is used to make antidepressant pills.
मेरे वतन के लोगों Indigenous